Okay, so in my experience, your classes in computer science are among the best I have taken during all my
I
studies.
appreciate that.
How do you develop your class material, and what is the secret, a secret that you can share of how do you making them so amazing?
So I think that just blind luck. I think. No, I think it's so there's a few things that I think go into it. And it depends on different parts of the course design process. Um, so one thing is, so I tend to break down course creation into three phases that I call design, development, and delivery. It's very similar to other models of instructional design. I find that this breakdown kind of works well for online, very large online courses, like the ones that I teach, because it really puts an emphasis on the different phases. Um, Development would be, so design would be kind of the initial layout of the course and how the content maps to the assessments, maps to how you run the course day to day and everything like that. Development is creating all those things that you create once in advance and ideally get to reuse for a long time after that. And then delivery is all the stuff you do during a semester, once students are actually enrolled in submitting work. And the way it tends to go is that we start out with a design, then we go through a development phase, and then we kind of alternate back and forth between delivery and design again. So design leaves some room to tweak things over time. And part of that design phase is trying to really understand what are the things we're really confident about creating durably? What are the things that we know are not really going to change very much over the next several years that we can really invest some attention into doing really well once? And so we start by identifying those things and then do them really well once. The entire kind of philosophy around filming course content to be used asynchronously. Um, there are a lot of different approaches, and it's an interesting domain just because it's the kind of thing that the kinds of faculty who we want to teach in our programs are very often not faculty who've ever taught this way before, and so it's very out of character for them. They're very often used to being on stage in front of a live audience, and some love going in front of a camera, and some hate it. I happen to love it. But one of the big things I think really changes things is that in that development phase, you get the freedom to essentially create the entire course at once. You don't have what you have in live delivery, which are little things like, I have to deliver a lecture this afternoon, so I'm going to prepare what I'm going to say this afternoon, and I'm going to worry about next month later. Or I ran out of time today, so now I have to figure out what I'm going to move into next time and figure out how to cut something at the end of the semester. Online, you really get to sit down and focus on the entire thing. I like to script everything in advance. So before I ever get in front of a video camera, I probably have the entire course laid out down to the level of word for word scripts for me, just because I present better on video if I can focus on how I'm coming across rather than focusing on what I'm trying to say. And so, and that's the other part of it for that development phase is just really paying attention to how things align and how course content should be structured that's compatible with the nature of the content itself. When you break free from the 3 times a week 50-minute lectures that kind of force you to structure your content a certain way and get to really just let it be structured according to how it naturally falls into place, really gives you a lot of freedom if you embrace that. A lot of faculty have never done something like this before, and they've been teaching a traditional way for 20 years, and they're fantastic about that. And so it's very natural to try and do this new area the same way they've always done their prior teaching. So just kind of squeeze it in, and that's, I think, that misses some of the benefits of this approach. So that's kind of that
Okay,
development phase.
interesting. And if you, I don't know, there's a new, a teacher that's just beginning on this professional path as a teacher, and he asks you for just one tip to make his courses better, what would you say to that beginner?
So I'd say it differs in part on where in the process they are. If they're just about to start and they've never done it before, they haven't recorded anything yet or anything like that.
Yeah, let's say it's a new person that is joining the OMSES
Yeah,
as a lecturer.
yeah. So if it's a
What
brand new
what would be the tip?
Yeah, so if it's a brand new person who's never recorded any content or anything like that, my My biggest recommendation that no one ever listens to, but it's still my biggest recommendation, is that exact thing. It's lay out your entire course in advance. Don't go into the studio until you have some idea of everything you're going to want to talk about. And the reason for that is that video is a fantastic instructional medium, but it's also very heavy to put together. And having to go back and re-record a video is a heavy lift. And what very often ends up happening is people will start to record a course, and if they're writing it, it's kind of natural to write 2 lessons ahead of what you're recording. So I write this lesson, write the next couple lessons, go back and record. But then you get to lesson 17 or something like that and realize, oh, this would be much easier if I remember to mention this back in lesson 11 to kind of prime students, give them some context. And if you're still just working in text, that's easy to do. You just go back and add a reference in lesson 11. If you've already recorded lesson 11, it's really difficult to go back and, redo that. I mean, you still can. It just takes a lot of time, and it's not very natural to go back just to record and add something like that. So that's part of it, is really focus on lay out your entire course before you start really committing it to video. The other component of that is also embrace the fact that you've got a chance to build something really durable once. Ideally, you'll be able to reuse over time. There's a tendency to kind of view it as a traditional teaching experience, which is iterative over semester.